As you start to progress along, where's the first time you stumble on it? You actually have a metaphorical hurdle on your journey to eventually to win gold at the Olympics and the World Championships. But somewhere along the line, like as you hit real competition, hurdle on that journey.
Man, there were a lot. There was definitely a lot growing up. I remember it's so funny because a story that really hit with me recently was the Simone Biles when she had the twisties. She talked about it. I had that once. And I think in track and field, we don't call it that. But I remember at a very young age, I used to do the high jump. So this is even before I did hurdles. I was actually a better high jumper growing up. But there came to a point where I could no longer jump over the bar. I remember I would run up to the bar and it was like a fear. I didn't know what it was. I think as we got older, the bar gets higher. If anybody's familiar with the high jump, the event where you're literally going until you fail. So I think having that behind your mind is like at some point you have to fail in this event. And it didn't sit comfortable with me. So it got to a point where I no longer would jump. I'd go up to it and I just keep running around the bar every single time. And I was only about 14 years old when this happened. But that was like the first time that something was a mental block for me that I didn't. So it's very similar. When that thing happened with Simone, it kind of reminded me of that situation and it put things into perspective for me. Like, wow, is that what was happening to me at such a young age? And I remember just my coach just taking me away from the event and just giving me time to just relax. And he actually changed my approach. So I used to high jump from the left side and maybe I took like a couple months off and he had me go from the right side. And that kind of just having a different perspective coming up to the bar gave me the ability to be able to jump over it again. So that's just kind of like one like quick little story that I could think of. So I think something that just really a real, I would say, fallback I had was in college. That's when I come from being very almost one of the top recruits out of high school. And going into college, it was really, really difficult for me. I think kind of just being in the atmosphere where you're no longer the best and you kind of have to really work for it. And I just really struggled in college. I think that was like the biggest hurdle, I guess, as you would call it in my life at that point in time. And just not really being living up to like, I guess, the expectations that I had.
Right. Let me, I'm going to take both of those stories and smash them in together and make them one. Like your coach, when you were 14 and you got stuck running up to bar and you couldn't make yourself do it, even though you might have wanted to. He gave you some space and then he came at it from a different angle. Was there a part of college where you've gone in there, you've gotten a little stuck or weighed down by the expectations? What was it that helped you get through that? Was there a different angle, a different way you looked at things? How did that evolve?
I think it did. For me, unfortunately, it took maybe out of college, like my last race in college, for me to kind of look at things from a different angle, a different perspective. I think like when I got to college, I got stuck in this mindset that I no longer wanted it, that I wasn't performing to the ability that I wanted for myself. So I convinced myself that I no longer wanted to run. I no longer cared about track and field. God must have another plan for me because this is just not working out. And it wasn't until my last race in college. It was actually at the Olympic trials. I'm a senior and it was 2012 Olympic trials. And I remember just not advancing to the semifinals. So I was eliminated in the very first round. And I remember just the overwhelming sadness that I had. But going into this race, I knew I had the mindset, this is my last college race. I was going to get a job after this, move on from running. And that was it. And I was completely fine with it. But I think just having that overwhelming feeling of sadness, it made me realize how much I really wanted this. And I was having called me after the race. And she was just like, a simple question. She was just like, what happened? And for her, she literally just wanted to know, like, how did the race go? I was eliminated from that race in the Olympic trials, the very first round. And that simple question, I think I just took it so much deeper than what she even meant it. To me, it was literally like, what happened to the last 4 years of your life? And that's how I took it. I'm like expressing my frustration with her on the phone. And she was just like a little bit puzzled. But also, I guess it changed my idea. It made me realize how much I wanted this and how much fear had become a factor and it made me feel undone and that there was something left in the tank and I had to go forward and I had to address those feelings and just give myself another chance.
Wow, that's a really cool, I'm sure you didn't think it was cool at the time, but that's a really cool transformation story where you've actually, the hurdle that's knocked you down and could have finished you, potentially made you. Like it changed, would you say you changed your motivation and your application from then on?
It did. I think it gave me the motivation that I needed. It definitely, just having that different perspective, it made me see things and I guess how the reality of what the situation actually was. I was upset, I think, well, not even I know. I was upset that I just wasn't performing to the expectations that I had for myself. And I wanted to, but for whatever reasons, it wasn't working out in college. And yeah, it just gave me that motivation, that extra push that I needed to really find a new gear, so to speak.
And that ability, are you finding that new gear with some extra motivation? There was an innocent question from your mother, but turned out to be the trigger, so to speak. We asked this of a lot of our guests too. Tell us what's a key trait of people in your area. Obviously, to become an Olympic champion, to even make the Olympics, you need to have a high level of motivation. But beyond that, what do you think is something that makes an Olympic champion? To be able to deal with everything, all the hurdles along the way to eventually getting on that podium?
Well, if you ask a famous coach, Brooks, he says you have to be a little bit crazy. And I think I agree. Ultimately, I think it's the ability to just compartmentalize. I think so much we look at the bigger picture and we look at the end goal, but it's the ability really to just do it day by day, to take those necessary things that you need to do on a daily basis. It's waking up right. It's being able to do your workout in that moment, just being focusing on the little goals and not so much. Yes, you always want to have that bigger picture be in your mind and you know what you're working towards, but your everyday life should just focus on the little things and the little things that you can accomplish and the little goals that you can set every single day.